Witnesses say he fired with a semi-automatic pistol, pulling the trigger as fast as he could. He started by walking down the serving line. Witnesses say he fired, reloaded, and fired again.
He was pretty calm about it. He wasn't like cussing or saying this or that. He just opened fire.
After several minutes of terror, there was chaos.
I couldn't see.
All we could see was his legs and his body and the gun, and that's all.
Because we weren't going to look out from under the tables. I mean, we were underneath the tables just trying to keep from getting hit.
Your henchmen, militia slash secret society. Kidnap those simpletons who despise me. Dirty dagger, slice nice and precise. Mentally infested with murderous thoughts, trained to hear gunshots miles away. Those who stray to paraphrase teachings, cause harvester of sorrow to hold minds and start bleaching. To the points where clans betray their own. But I hold Chi Minh, mind, body, soul, flesh, muscle, and bone. We'll delete data who dares to compete with this war field marshal. Now bow and kiss my feet. If thou hast not got caught by the blast, run from your surroundings, you'll never last. I'll make this plot look like a scene from hell. Got them prong eyes looking like things ain't going too well. Rigging squad cars to blow, erasing blocks. Military minded with some Oklahoma bomb talk. So much chalk, this place looks like a fucking white desert. And the only lead you got is that spotted blue shirt. But that ain't even mine, so I escape again. Hang inside of my tabati boys to keep me sane. Keep your riches and religion, false belief and fame. Just grant me never ending power while they fall like rain.
Remedies for your sickness. Remedies to ease the pain. Remedies for never ending victory. War chants, God, our soul we remain.
In Mega City, we feel no pity. When my breath touches the mic against Chile, we'll waste the cities. Locked in low Cambodian super toke injections are heard in the chamber of the M16. Now I shall proceed to exhale scuds that rip apart skulls. Bodies lift and drop boundly with a thud. Just cause you won a few scrimmages don't mean you earned the right to tussle with me, smoke with me. I dare you to come against me. What that nigga didn't do to you, I'll do for free. Sock specialist, revolutionary prophet, joint chiefs and staff, freelance terrorist, bringing havoc. I spit what I say with extreme prejudice, no remorse. Could care less if you get burned or get bitten by frost. This is cost, henchmen. We dead oppositional forces by the stroke of the pen. My ink runs red when it gets too hot for y'all. I know y'all gonna be first in line to be recruited by the feds. I leave informers with shrapnel sticking out their heads.
Remedies for your sickness. Remedies to ease the pain. Remedies for never ending victory. War chants, God, our soul we remain.
The motherfuckers don't like us, they like what we do. We can't work with them, but to work for them, that's cool. Give us the minimum wage and all the modern day slave jobs. The rebels wouldn't stand for that, so some of us might rob. If all of us were equal, then I might steal from our own. But we's more, cause we're not awesome, but that can't be shown. We're worth more because the price is what they found us a price. We did the job they couldn't do without pay, now that's nice. Some of us had to be thrown over the ships, how come? Cause we don't run for whips and chains and take it all, cause wisdom. A spiritual ancestor took care of a body and soul, but they don't see that. When they refer to us as black gold, they call us money in the face to stab you in your gut and back. Some of us might do the same, see Babylon's where we at. I gotta be crazy adapting to this world that don't want me. Fuck the world and all its leads.
Slow it down, OG.
Nah, you know we gotta do them dirty deeds to get by. Without control, the teardrops falling from my mom's eye. It's not me that let it down, it's the things that I do to keep my head up. She probably did them same things too. Certain things shouldn't be spoken, but I said them same way. Someone should know a revolution's on my mind all day. And when the night comes, it's time for action. Ease back, I can't sit on my ass no more. The revolution is at. Fuck all of them, cause they done turn my face screw. They don't give an ass about what they put me through.
Remedies for your sickness. Remedies to ease the pain. Remedies for never ending victory. War chants, God, our soul we remain.
Brothers know what they have to do to solve this predicament that we in. Give too much power to a nigga, he'll squander it. Political puppets like Jesse Jackson, so it's time to relinquish it. You have three options: surrender, join forces, or we cool shit up. Tommy knock your head with bricks, Molotov cocktail your shit, take your pick. My conscripts don't give a fuck about your posses, pussy crews and so-called cliques. Get flat every one of your twats. Fuck where you're from and where you're at. I rep the original man plus cataract. I grew up on the wrong side of the tracks. I'm unscathed without tracks. I dissect crumb rapping scabs, turn them into human sectional staffs. I'm deadly toxic like Viet's war gas. Heathens full convulsed from lyrics to catch. Ignite when fingers snap. Fuck Shaq. Pretty boy floors get rushed, pockets get racked. Spin your stack before my stack. Back rap for 20 sack. Hate white guys trying to act black. Fuck the days of sitting back, collecting po-po slugs in the back. I got a 6-pack of dynamite, poised to strike the divisions of precincts at night. Out of sight, flames getting jiggy with it. Lyrics represent the rugged and field tested.
Remedies, remedies for your sickness. Remedies, remedies to ease the pain. Remedies, remedies for never-ending victory. War chants, God, our soul we remain. Yeah.
Islam. First, we want to rise in observance of the Moorish American prayer. All those who do not wish to participate in the prayer may stay seated in silent benediction. All those who do, rise and face east. Rise with 5 fingers on the left, 2 fingers on the right. Feet on 45-degree angle, and squarely apart. Repeat after this all the way back. Allah, Allah of the universe, Father of truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah, my protector, my guide, and my salvation, my night, and my day. Amen. Islam.
You pen?
Greetings once again from on high, in special acknowledgement for our great God Allah, our protector of this universe. Give an honor to his noble prophet, noble Jew Ali, also referred to in the Moorish realm as Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali. Give an honor to all his active students, all his studious participants on high conscious realms. Give our honor to all the angels, all the Asiatics, all the citizens. Islam. We have our extended family via Skype, Canaanland Moors, leaders by Grand Sheikh Kuzo. They're with us today via Skype. We can hear them, they can hear us, so we're going to interact as one royal family, which we are. Give our honors to you all, Moors. And as with any opening of a Moorish American meeting, we start according to our national standards by reading our Constitution and bylaws for the Moorish Country of America and the Moorish American nation. Islam. I will like the Constitution and bylaws. Will be recited by Sheikh Mawlid Bey.
Islam? No. The Moorish Science of America's Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and Chairman of the Moorish Science of America is empowered to make laws and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science of America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and is known before the members of the Moorish Science of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended to his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Alliance of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Alliance of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, color folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to our slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Alliance of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Alliance of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of all living acts Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah, Islam.
Islam. That concludes our national standards. In brief, I should say, we have more national standards than just a written constitution. And the Constitution is also written as a reference to the mindset and the consciousness of the people of that particular nation. The Constitution itself, or a Constitution, represents the will of a particular people, a particular group of people, associated by nation, government, state, etc. I.e., back to the Father's divine warning for the nations that the citizens of all free national governments, according to the national constitution, are one family bearing one free national name. So the Constitution, once again, pertains to any nation, state, or drill society. And the Constitution is also referred to as the national standard. Why? Because the nation has to stand for something. It's the preamble to a nation, their Constitution. That's why it's referred to as their national standard. Okay, there's a nation. All right, cool. What do they stand for? That's what the national standard means. It's the foundation of their nation. So every free nation state must have a constitution that represents their will. So this is one of the prerequisites of us being restored here in North America. Our name and principle was to give us our national standard back. And from that we build. From that rests everything else, all of our claims, etc. This is why we traditionally and ritualistically recite the Constitution at the beginning of each meeting. Because now what we're doing is we're also setting the stage of every meeting. We're setting the foundation from which each meeting should be built. And from that meeting comes the guidance of your nation. So we were asked today to come together and communicate and build upon the idea, concept of moving forward, Moorish Americans moving forward in 2016, so-called 2016. We know that we're on multiple different time zones. We know that we've been enslaved, so therefore we also operate on someone else's time reference. We as Moors measure time by cycle ages. So the prophet told us that this is a new era in time now. But not to say you don't concern yourself with nobody else's time, but you also got to give credence to your own time, your own reference in time. So that's where we start off with Act 6. And we mark this time now as a new era, and from this point forward, all members must proclaim their true national name. Not to just be recognized by the government or what we refer to as the representatives of our government, but also the government which we live, referring to our people, our citizens, our members first, in the nation and without the nation. So now that we have that under our as we move forward into what are we now, what do we need to do? We're 100 years later into this program, or this idea of Moorish American nation. And like the prophet himself said, that I gave you what it takes to save a nation. He said, but it's one thing, you got to take that and go do something with it. What is that? You got to save yourself. So now we understand that just because we have literature, we got a book, and we have laws and writing and constitution and flags and these things, don't mean that we're where we need to be. It don't mean that we're safe. It don't mean we're free. It don't mean that we're sovereign just because an affidavit says so. Right? So I'm just speeding this up. Bear with me. Bring us to where we at. So regardless of what school of thought you come from or what you know or thought you knew, the concept is this. All life is bound by cords to all other living things. Right? And as citizens, we are bound by cords to other individuals, regardless if they're in the nation or outside the nation, regardless if they're proclaimed or not proclaimed. Free man or considered a slave. So until we understand that no man lives unto himself, that regardless of where we at in our consciousness, as long as there's other Moorish Americans or branded Moors out there referred to as Negro, Black, color, and even all the citizens is not directly affiliated, regardless of their nationality, until everyone is free, it's still a stagnation on our nation part. So we can't play this high-hat game as if just because we got this information that we're free. That's not the case. That's what it means, no man lives unto himself. So our work is continuous. And we can't let up because of where we think we are along the way. So that brings us to moving forward. Is my idea and concept about this is keep it. Pardon me, 1 second. I might focus that, please. It doesn't have to be like All right, Morris. So the concept is we should have more recognition. We should have more acknowledged freedom. We should have more reserved rights in this day of time, right now, based on the fact that Drew Ali did his work 100 years ago. Wow. And we have not, we know why, because we have insurgents, opposition to the program of freedom. So what it did was it stagnated the process in the evolution of freedom. I'm not just going to tell you the movement in the temple, because the movement itself is freedom. So I'm going to use different terminology just to bring us up to speed, because sometimes we get caught in our own language, in our own movement, and we got to understand something, that this is a freedom movement. The Moorish Divine National Movement is a freedom movement. So don't take it personal. Second for me. You just shut down. We'll be back up in 1 second. So, the freedom movement I'm speaking reference to is embedded in different eras of time. And there has been freedom movement in different eras of time prior to dualism. That we have to recognize the movement for what it is. So the Moorish Divine National Movement didn't necessarily start in 1916. It was incorporated into this government in 1916. But it's a reenactment of previous movements that have always been in existence through different time zones and different lifespans, different ages, etc. So this is why he says, I brought you something that you can't tear up. This is something that's eternal and everlasting. It's not something you can sign up for. It's something that you have to evolve onto. So what I'm trying to get at here is more that if we don't necessarily take part in this movement, we've got to meet that. If we don't become a part of the movement, as is recorded, then we really are not helping the cause. We turn out to be enemies to the cause of uplifting our own people. And like the record says, justice will and must catch us. So this is why that's already occurring, because it's embedded in the ethos. And we're here to educate ourselves and others of the justice that is embedded in the ethos. Justice is going to take its course, regardless if anybody visibly see what we do wrong. You know, regardless of what we do is already recorded in the universe. And the pendulum is going to come back to whoever against the cause. So it's in our best interest to be a part, not just of the movement of being a recorded member, listen what I'm saying, but become a part of the movement, meaning that we have to be active in this movement. This brings us back to divine warning for the nations. He repeatedly tells us to enforce the Constitution. He gives us the pros and cons of it. What will occur if we don't do that? Now, not at the stage where we're going to just keep repeating it and talking about what the rest says. We're forcing everyone to be active on it. No, this is what we do here. This is what we do in this particular temple. We can't speak for every other temple because we know that that's not the work in every other temple. But there's a few exceptions of sincere Moors that's really trying to make a difference and be a part of the movement. Some of them, unfortunately, had to go outside of the term Moorified temple to do the work. We understand that as well. So, from my own experience, I know to get your individual acknowledgement and rights reserved or preserved, you got to take action. This is just a question. We're tuned in. Just find out what I'm saying. It's on? No. Just give exact details and let you know. Stop. So within the program of being active protocols to me is taking action. How do you take action? Through suits at law. All right, so it's not. So based off my understanding of this movement, in order to enforce the Constitution, you have to file suit at law in order to get your argument across. That's the only way that you can take action. You can exercise what the lessons say. You can enforce the Constitution. You can repeat what the Constitution says. But once that's not observed or acknowledged, at that point, your only remedy or the way to express that is to file suits in the court, which we refer to as the justice system. There's different realms of the justice system, like I just made reference to. But the physical citizens' justice system is, constitutionally speaking, the Supreme Court, or whatever inferior court that they might deem necessary or establish, which comes up under Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. So it comes to the point where Moors, I'm speaking to active Moors, the level we need to be on now is we can't keep repeating it, telling somebody about proclaiming their nationality and what they need to do as far as that perspective if the opposition that they're getting is they're not acknowledging it. So now your only alternative is to file suit at law. Now, if we have numerous Moors just not getting their rights observed, we can't just individually keep taking suit. That's too many suits. So the idea is referred to as class action suit, because a class action suit represents the nation itself being distressed. And one class action suit represents the many, multiple fractions and violations that have been put upon the Moors throughout their nation. This is supposed to be done through representation of a nation. Like, for example, if we were in a perfect world and we had a true national grand chief, then it would be the obligation and it would be the business of the grand body and the national heads, i.e. leaders of our nation, to address these issues as far as class action. But because we don't have that proper leadership in our nation, then that means that active Moors who understand this to a certain degree have to combine and get together and galvanize themselves to address these issues on behalf of the nation. Because these are not issues that any average citizen can address. And really, like I said, it should have been done before our time. But we can't cry over spilled milk. We got to, like I said, those who are on the level have to just galvanize and deal with the issue. So that brings us to not only where I think other Moors should be at this point, but what we're doing is we're setting the standard, setting the stage here, an interpretation of what URE's lessons was about, and what the Constitution is telling us to do. Both constitutions, not just the divine, but the national Constitution tells you the pros and the cons as well of a violation of a law. So if he's telling you to enforce the Constitution, and within the document of the Constitution is telling you what to do if it's not observed, then what's the problem? We say we constitutionalists, we say we statesmen, we say we sincere citizens and true citizens, then the only exhaustion of a remedy for a true citizen is to take action. This is what a suit is based on, it's an action. In the court system, they refer to it if you're fighting for your rights, so to speak. They refer to that as a civil action. But the highlight is the word action. Until you take action, it means that you're really not upset. I want you to understand what I'm saying. If you have not taken action against a violation, it really means that you're not upset. And that's really the state of mind that I see most and more things. Even though they might talk about remedy and talk about the concern of the nation and freedom, but they're just talking. Not all of them, of course there's more to pursue. I just don't want nobody to misunderstand what I'm saying. But until we take action, we're not really telling our representatives that we're upset. Until we take collective action, we're not saying that we're upset. It's called acquiescence. We acquiesce to the fact that we're not acknowledging your name, your nationality. On all legal transactions, they were still referring to you as Black or African American. The National Census, the Department of Justice, the Department of Interior still got you down from a race classification as Black, i.e. African American. These are the things in 2016 that needs to be addressed. Not what each person is talking about or what that group is saying or who's supposed to be the national leader. And all of these things are just distractions. Although that they're necessary to deal with, but they're distractions, meaning if you can't convince your brother that he's not Negro, Black, and colored, there's nothing else to say to him. Now, to me, that don't mean that, okay, because a person said, I'm not Black, but I'm a Moor, that he's not Black. Because Black is a state of mind to me. So that means that if I see unconstitutional states of mind, that tells me that the individual is still Black. Regardless of what he or she say. So I'm not interested in those type of states of mind. Unless the conversation is to raise them up. But most people don't want to be on that level. They're comfortable on where they're at. For whatever reasons, we won't get into that. We're moving forward. If anyone debates with what I'm saying, as far as we need to get together and start to speak about class action based on the infractions. If you disagree with that statement, then to me you're Black. I don't care who you are, how you dress, or what group you're part of. If you're in the know. I'm talking about especially someone that's supposed to be advanced in the movement for a while, got an official title, these type of things. To debate that means that but you're still black. Because it's obvious that you cannot exercise Act 1 through 7. You definitely can't exercise Act 6. It's a contradiction to issue out a nationality card in an affidavit, knowing that they're not going to accept it. Doesn't mean don't issue it out, but meaning that if you issuing these documents out to people, but not sincere enough to be a part of the addressing of those documents when it's not being observed, then you're part of the problem. No, it's wrong. And I've seen this way too long. You had a question before you want to do a statement? And that little what you were saying, this is the result of what you're saying, which always ends up in the 12B6 dismissal. A 12B6 dismissal is a judgment, and a judgment must be based off evidence. So what they're saying is that based off the conclusionary legal analysis, based off case law, judge is already written for a person who comes up as a minority in the so-called states. And so-called black people are considered minorities. And when they file the motion for minorities with the 12B6 motion, or I need supporting evidence, because the evidence is already based off the case law. It's not. It's wrong. Yes, sir. No. No, first arise as we praise the Father of law on the prophet. I like to better do my intelligence with the Canaanland and found more. And I get honored to teach and everything. One of you what the specific branches just did, and then know what you just did. And about acquiescence, that's acquiescence. Absolutely. Because they take it as we keep accepting the fact that we label you black, African American, Negro, color, and on the other list. Those are things that you accept. Whatever we decide that we want to do, absolutely. Disregard to the fact that the divine warning, the divine warning, Islam becomes subject to all the deeds of the ETC as the citizens can acceptable. That's what you're going to say more? Islam. That means we're on the same page. That's fine. Islam. Islam. So moving forward. So just setting the stage once again on where we need to be with this. Like, we don't have time to give crash courses, as Brother Todd Sharif would say. We don't have time for crash courses. Like, we need more to just be sincere, go back and do the homework, catch up to what needs to be done. Do your own homework outside of the meeting period. When you come here, you should already be sitting down, ready to take action. What do you need me to do? What means that you should already have a fundamental knowledge base on what to do. Because if we hand you something or hand you a case or a response to a 12B6 or something, we need you to just go home and put something together and email it back to us. That's the assistance we need. Anything else is really not of assistance. Like, there's certain things that could be helpful, finances and different participation, not knocking that out. But meaning that we need more. That the nation is in the crisis state. But the state of emergency, as I'm concerned, is not just for the national government, but from a domestic Moorish nation perspective. Right? It's a state of emergency. It's been a state of emergency. But I'm just trying to bring it to the awareness that we need to view it like that. And no different from in a state of emergency, which the Constitution gives the full power and authority to the chief commander in charge, which is the president. The Constitution gives that authority to the president to make the decision on whether the nation is in a state of emergency or not. And if he does or she does make that declaration, then it comes under War Powers Act, which they say means that the Constitution, which is your nation standard, is now suspended. Meaning the rules and regulations according to the common law is now on a stay, is now suspended, and everything is governed according to a military manual. That's what that means, which is the state that it has been in for a very long time. And this is what we have to understand, that no pickup from that declaration made. I'm making a declaration because I'm saying that that's the same conscience base that we should have in our nation, and what's going on in our nation is what's going on in that, because we still part ourselves to that. So if the nation constitutional laws is suspended, and we say we are part and parcel to that same nation, wouldn't that mean that we're compromised? That's never compromised. So if we're compromised, that means that you can enjoy life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, which the national standard, i.e. the Constitution, protects and secures, which means that you have no acknowledged life, liberty, pursuit of happiness according to your national leaders. So because the leaders in our domestic nation should understand that, that means that they should be laboring night and day towards trying to correct that nation's crisis. They should be. But what I'm saying is that needs to be addressed and exposed by the people, which are the people that they're leading. Right, that's right. Meaning all the members within the various temples and all the malls and and auxiliaries and other different names. We all should be rising to the occasion to petition national leadership, whoever is most qualified to deal with these issues, because until we get national leadership, the part and parcel partners, our partners, even though they're corrupt politicians, but our partners have to be able to communicate with someone that they refer to as the leader of us. No different than they conversate with ambassadors and consuls of different other nation states. We need a representative of our nation state that can go before these people and sit with them and say, well, I represent the Moorish nation, which consists of millions of citizens, or i.e. members. If a person has that type of power that can stand and represent millions, and he got millions of people through writing and conversation that backs that one individual, that's power. And that obligates the partners to now consider and listen to that individual because they know it's truth and fact. But as long as we keep confronting these people representing little pocket groups, they have no obligation to hear the claim of a representative of a nation. When your own nation doesn't recognize that, that's an issue. That needs to be corrected properly. We can't wait for that to occur. But meanwhile, within the consensus of the people who agree, suit at law is where our exhaustion of our remedy comes in at. That's what we're going to address. I just put that out there because someone else can work on that. My charge right now is to try to perfect the class action, because I feel that that's where my gift is at, or that's where my energy should be dedicated to right there. But he knows one. No. Nationality is defined, is what you're saying. Absolutely. Standards too, yes. Fundamental standards. And just for those online who couldn't hear Brother Emmanuel, he's speaking about nationality needs to be defined. Because when you speak about nation, you're speaking about representation. And that's true, and that's why I address that. So like going back to my earlier statement, Papa says, I gave you to take things, but you got to take that now and save yourself, meaning that there were still incomplete components that had to be added to the picture. Although he put in place the different sheets of government, I should say. He did that, he accomplished that. But the full awareness of those seats was not yet perfected. Because you can't speak for every individual, and you can't do every individual's job. So it's really up to us to understand the seats of government on our side and on the other side, because they're actually synonymous, right? And until we understand the role of government, we won't have an effective nation. And that could be one reason why it's not acknowledged when we say nation. Because when we say Moorish American is our free national name, that's our nationality as well. But when you say nationality to other nations and other people who understand government, they look for the national standards in what you just said. And if the national standards criteria is not met, then they don't acknowledge what you said. And that's one of the reasons not letting them off the hook. I didn't really want to get into that, but you're trying to give them leeway on the declaration of what we're saying because the components are not yet in place. No different from we will criticize someone else when they make a claim, say, I just throw it out there, Nation of Islam. Although it says, the wording says Nation of Islam, they're not a duly constituted nation, they're not a dual society, according to national standards. Even though the name says nation, but legally is not a nation defined from a constitutional perspective. Now the word nation also just means like quality. So that does constitute a definition of a nation, but that's not a legal nation. So we need to understand what Emmanuel was saying when you talk about nationality, that means pertaining to a nation. And the particular nation that we proclaim is actually a nation state or dual society, not necessarily just saying there's a group of people who got together that believe in the same idea, or affiliation or association of people. Because a church is also a nation, by definition. The Boys and Girls Club is a nation, according to definition. But it's not a legal nation. It's not a duly constituted nation. There's a difference. So Moors just need to be more mindful of what we established and not treat it as one of those other type of non-duly constituted nations. It's a dual society. So, and that's what we need to look at. That we're not talking about a club here. So we have to address it properly. Islam. And I'm glad you cleared that up because you know what's great. I mean, this is sheep. The name is speaking about the grand sheep. Pursuant to the jurisdiction is thought. Because of our acquiescence not being able to let them know that it's pursuant to the declaration of our nationality and constitutional protection in the Union, pursuant to the proclamation of our free national religion. They're taking upon themselves to establish the due process to get underneath the 14th Amendment. Because what they give you as so-called citizens is the right to get the minority that comes under what? Administrative remedies, such as Title 7, Title 42. And all the being unconstitutional because they come up under the jurisdiction of the 14th Amendment that not deal with nationality, it deals with a club. So the so-called due process you're receiving is coming from the jump. That's all. Something that's very dangerous, right? And the key is, what we're speaking about now will become really in our face. The place we still have Muslim, here and abroad. I'm trying to lump everybody in. I still understand the concept of that. But he's a radicalist. Yeah. See, that's what people pay attention to. When he's rallying the people up war, and they all look like that. And that's dangerous. Yeah. So if you move up now to the forefront, take upon what you're saying, and cut all this nonsense out about what we were talking about. Stop the dead and things that does not. We stop it from the more knowledge to the nation. For all Lord. So until we put that nonsense aside, we must stand now as one even more so now than ever of every evil that's being done. Do everything that's written in that nation, divine proclamation, is all right in the same. Yeah, Islam. You understand? Yes, sir. Islam. So, procedure. I want to say, where we at in our studies, we're going to have to go do more homework. I'm dealing with active protocols. Right? For civil action, I must understand this is where you were going, but let me do it in procedure form and then you can elaborate on it. So we need to take suit. We need to take action. Anytime you're giving a citation, a complaint, what we commonly know as a ticket, is a suit, it's an action. That's quote unquote considered a civil action against you. A speeding ticket is considered a civil action against an individual. In the complaint, I'm giving you the fundamentals of law. The complaint or the citation is not by the municipality or the city that gave it to you, is according to the people of that particular state that's issuing you that summons for that violation. I'm going to explain that because a lot of people don't really understand. We know that our neighbors in the community really have nothing to do with the traffic ticket directly, but they do indirectly. Because in order for a suit to be brought against you by the people, it means that the people have to be conscious of their representative issuing you that suit. What does that mean? Meaning that the people make up the government. They are the government. They choose representatives now to handle their affairs. Right. Their representatives, so-called representatives, are the ones that's taking action against you. That's right. But the people are not really aware of what their representatives are actually up to. So the people don't necessarily agree with the action being taken against the individual, but through acquiescence, it means that the people did agree. So just give you an example. If I'm traveling down the street in my personal conveyance, and they pull me over and give me a citation, technically by law, that means that the Moorish Americans are suing me as well. That means members of my temple is also part of that complaint. Although that's not the case, I know that. If the municipality, they got private interests, corporate interests, they're giving me a violation for monetary reasons, but they're using the law to do it, which means that they're saying the people acquiesce to that, and they agree to us giving you this violation. This is why we got to get active, because your silence is what's pulling me over. Your silence is what's pulling that next man over. Your silence is what got those brothers and sisters incarcerated. Not everybody. But what I'm saying to you is, through silence constitutes acquiescence. If we don't take action against the representatives doing what they're doing, it means that we agree. So it's not, for example, to give you a city of Newark. Newark is a private, municipal, quasi-corporation. The city of Newark might bring a citation against a citizen in the municipal tribunal, which is unconstitutional. The city of Newark has a attorney, which is referred to as maybe just a DA or a prosecutor of that particular municipality. Understand this. But that DA or prosecutor is only the prosecutor of that municipality. He is not the prosecutor or the DA of the particular county. Right. Which the county is the government. Right. So the prosecutor or the DA of the county is supposed to represent the people, but the prosecutor of the municipality only represents the corporate interest, not the people. But when the violation comes to you, it's worded as the people against you, or the state of New Jersey versus you. But the corporation does not represent the state of New Jersey, nor the county. It only can represent its corporation. And that's what the people don't understand. If the people are not challenging this and allowing these papers to keep flooding these courtrooms, then it's good. They're saying, well, the people never objected and said that they're not in tune with the municipal corporation. The people are being tricked to think that they represent that there's one and the same. But you don't challenge it. When that citation comes to you and it says the state versus you thinking legitimately the state versus you. But that's not the state versus you. That's only the state, i.e. the municipal corporation versus you. That municipal prosecutor works, he's for hire. He's an esquire as well. That means that he's an attorney at law. He's getting a paid salary to be the prosecutor for the corporation. He's a private attorney for the prosecutor, for the municipality. He does not work for the people. He does not represent the people at all. And you must understand that. You have to challenge the word state. They use it there as a decoy, as a distraction. It's semantics where you think it's legitimate because it says state. But state just means body. It means a group. It could be mean like minds, just like nation means. So they are a state. The question becomes, what state are you making claim to? That's why you have to challenge these things through documentation before you can proceed. Meaning that you need to know the nature and the cause of the accusations against me. First question, I want to know who's my accuser. Because I have a right to face my accuser. And it says the state versus me. First thing I need to know, who is bringing claim against me? The state of who? What state? What state? What people? Until you make that claim, you have not challenged. Islam. Rashid, you have a question? Islam.
Islam is, a lot of times that all of that is a trouble situation because, like you said, it's the people in society who convene together and create these laws or statutes, which becomes consideration that we receive today. And through that consideration, now you have now been deprived of the constitutional protections that the law gives you. And mostly not based off the evaluation of the material facts of genuine issues, based off the fact of evidence, but it's based off case law, which is already made in decisions of what's going on in society and represent guilty truth. Because you've already been classified as well. Now, hold that, like I said, let me move up to that. So I'm laying a foundation here and start from the municipal perspective, and I'm going through jurisdictions until I get to where we need to be, because the municipality is only a public utility. They're quasi-government. Quasi. If you look up their delegation of authority, you will realize and find out that they're quasi. And when you ask the questions, if you do, in document form or live court sessions, they will tell you that it's quasi. And when you understand, you look up in the Black's Law Dictionary or Bouvier, any law dictionary, and look up what the word quasi means, you will know it's color of law. So they're not hiding that. It's just enough people are not aware of that and willing to challenge it is why they get away with it. So they're telling you that we're quasi-government set up.
they'll tell you that their jurisdiction is quasi. So quasi means neither civil nor criminal. And there's only two types of jurisdiction that the Constitution recognizes. It's either civil or criminal. And if they're going to tell you that they're neither, then the question is, why do you keep communicating with them? Not saying that they don't have a purpose, because they do. And I'm not knocking their existence. We need a municipal corporation. Seriously, we do. So I'm not knocking their existence. What I'm knocking is the authority or the jurisdictional claims that they make over the citizens. That's what I'm knocking. That's what I'm challenging. Then, New Jersey Gas, Jersey Central Power and Light, they're public utilities and quasi too. But it don't mean that I'm knocking their existence, because I don't have any other way of getting natural gas into my home or electricity into my home right now. I know there's ways, but I don't have the means to do that right now, so I'm still going to utilize their service. That's what you call a public utility. But New Jersey Gas can't make a jurisdictional claim over me and claim me as a ward of the state either. And they can't bring me to New Jersey Gas courtroom over any type of litigations or what I do in my personal life. There's a difference. And this is role of government, that each citizen needs to be conscious on that level. But hey, I'm not knocking what you're saying or what you're doing. I'm only knocking certain things. That's what I'm addressing. You make a claim on me, that's what I'm challenging. And that's the level that we need to be on. So, municipal is quasi. So you don't make complaints or suits to a quasi jurisdiction. I had to bring all that up to say that. Why? Because people have complained, and I deal with this all the time. People will go file a complaint against an officer at their police department. And that's the first mistake that you make. People can take other people, just like they got small claims court. People in corporations have taken people, citizens, to court in a municipal courtroom. You can do that. People don't understand that they can do that. I don't really recommend it. But if you got a small complaint with a citizen, say in Newark, you can take that individual to Newark Municipal Court. People only will think that the municipal court can bring you to court. But they don't understand that they're claiming to be a public court. So that means that you can bring someone else to that court as well. It's not just one way. I don't recommend it because it's a quasi court. So if we're going to be constitutionalists, we should only be bringing somebody to court or making a complaint against an individual in a constitutional court. So that eliminates that. Don't bring anybody to court there. Don't sign a complaint with anybody there. The first legal and lawful jurisdiction known to common law is county court. Justice of the peace. Chancery court. They go by different names. Superior Court, New Jersey uses. These are county jurisdictional courts. The counties are the first government. Now we know that they're functioning unconstitutional, so they're higher in concept than the municipal court, but they're still quasi as well, because they relinquish their common law jurisdiction and they have came up under the jurisdiction of the state of New Jersey, which is a corporation, not a government. Well, neither. The state of New Jersey is quasi in color of law, artificial. So the remedy can't be on the state level as well, which they refer to as the Supreme Court of the state of New Jersey, or the Supreme Court of the state of New York. Supreme does mean highest, but the Supreme Court of a corporation is what they're saying. That's not the People's Court. Remember that TV show People's Court? It's not. Yeah, that's,
But once again, you should be attuned, listen to that. It was always the people, they told you. The people bringing you to court. But see, if the state of New Jersey is a corporate jurisdiction or corporation disguising themselves as government, and they're saying that the Supreme Court is of the state of New Jersey, they're saying the Supreme Court of the corporation. That's still not the government. That's still not the people. So that's not the people's court or the people's jurisdiction or the people's state. It's separate. The people of New Jersey State Republic is acquiescing to the fact that they're still in a republic jurisdiction, because they turn all the citizens in the state of New Jersey Republic to the corporate warship of the state of New Jersey, prepositional phrasing, where there are no true citizens of the state republic anymore. So now the corporation's representative speaks on behalf of the people, because the people relinquished their sovereignty and agreed to come under the corporate warship of the state. So now any civil suit or class action taken by the people is referred to as a civil action under the 14th Amendment now, because there's no republics, no more people of the republic that's filing civil suits. So now you got a civil action, there's organic and common law, which is referred to as a common law remedy, and you have a civil action that comes up under the artifice of the 14th Amendment, which is the only one that they really assume and recognize in any of these court systems now, even the Supreme Court of the nation. Yes. No, question. Can you repeat that, please? If they can speak through Skype, we can hear them. I have the voice on Skype and then we speak to Skype. There's 1 ear, don't get caught up in the corruption. But when someone seeks remedy for domestic violence and are not and are but no that's very easy if you give me a call. One seeking remedy for domestic violence and are not part of the temple, but know they are a more. Where should one go for assistance? There's 2 ways I'll answer that. And correct me if I'm not hitting questions correct. Hope the law. And say it comes to law. I'm out of the law. If assistance is not granted by board, is we treat them to those of policy? Enforcement that treaty does your temple offer membership to all regardless of the state domicile. The temple does offer membership. To answer that question, but that's not the remedy. Here's how I'll address that question. We have to exhaust our remedies. First exhaustion of the remedy is we don't have national leadership, correct national leadership, to address the major issue. Smaller issues of a domestic nature, like say New Jersey or Monmouth County, our local citizenship here. The assistance should be our local temple in a perfect world. If the temple is not available, either there's no temple there or the temple are not knowledgeable to deal with the issue, then the next step I would say is to seek more that might be conscious of the issue at hand. Because even within different branches of different temples, different groups, everybody don't have the same knowledge base. Like, I'm a grand chief. That don't mean I'm educated on all issues either. I don't specialize in every issue out there. So although I have a good understanding of certain things, but I might not can address every issue or taught that's out there. There might be another grand chief that I can recommend, or just be another more who's not a part of nothing, but I know he's educated in, say, medical practice or medical law or whatever. Then I will refer that individual to him. So communication is the key, I think, on that level, where if your local grand chief can't address certain things, that they should be knowledgeable on who out there might can help. Was that pretty much addressed things? Another thing was asked about local officers or local officials. Exhaustion of remedies, once again. Domestic violence, I didn't really understand that. Domestic violence by who? That's a question back when we're ready to answer that. But understanding that throughout exhausting our remedies, we still can bring suit towards people in those tribunals, even though we know that they're artificial. We still have to exhaust our remedies and do it. That's why we're dealing with the common law civil suit that we have now, because of the violations that we have done domestically here. So we're not trying to address the nation's business, because we can't. So we can only can start addressing the local domestic issues we have here. So that's why we started with going after our county officials, because that's the direct government here. And then put pressure on them to do their job and go after their representatives or whoever's giving them the command to deprive us of our rights. And I think that's the best way to approach the matter. You can't just jump straight to the Supreme Court anyway. That's how it's designed, that you have to exhaust your remedies. You have to go by chain of command. So you got to deal with your local government first. And if you think about it, if you leave them out of it, which is what's been done for generations, you keep letting them off the hook. So the sheriff is not doing their job because we're letting them off the hook. We allow them to deal with issues like child support and things dealing with land patents, claiming land, and dealing with issues of real estate and jails, correctional facilities. That's the only thing they do. When truly they're the security of the county. They are the only ones that have arresting powers in the county. But we keep letting them off the hook and letting the municipal officers arrest people and do things and walk around with firearms and do all this. We keep allowing them to do that, and we're going to complain about that police brutality. We want to go back to the municipality and report what the officer's done, when that's not the right jurisdiction for that. The county is the right jurisdiction for that. No different from they got what they call IA, internal affairs. So the internal affairs is a county jurisdiction. They oversee what the municipality do. So if an officer or i.e. any official within the county is out of line, then internal affairs is the jurisdiction that looks in and investigates the issue domestically. So any issue at law that we have as citizens of the county should be directly sent to the internal affairs, which is your county prosecutors. That's your immediate exhaustion of your remedy. Also, case in point. People say, right? No, meaning that the suit that we have, as I'm thinking of it, that you have to send them a copy. Brother Irwin, listen to what I'm saying. Because as I'm dealing with the lecture, it's also in lieu of the suit. So it's doing a writ of error along the way, verbally now, that these issues that happen within the county also are referred to the Office of Administration of Courts, which is a county jurisdiction, and the prosecutor of each particular county. So if the county clerk questions, federal question. But before we get to the federal question just means any issue arising under the interpretation of the Constitution. But the county are constitutional officers because they take an oath to the Constitution. So your first remedy is also going to the prosecutor of that county because they're making this claim, i.e. also the sheriffs of that county, and putting them up on the violations that occurred within their jurisdiction first. Give them an opportunity to correct the wrong, which we know that they're not going to want to address. It's still part of your remedy process. You still have to carbon copy them first. Say, well, look, I'm coming to you because this is your jurisdiction. You oversee that. The assignment judge of the county is the one who stands and gives the oath to all the constitutional officers within the county. So before someone can come into office in the county, they got to go before the assignment judge. Also the county clerk does. So when you asking a question that we hear all the time, where is your DOAO? Who gave you the delegation of authority? Well, you need to go to the assignment judge because that's the one that said that that individual can now function within this county according to the Constitution. So you need to address that individual because you co-sign. That's the co-signer. So if the county clerk is violating his or her oath of office or constitutional delegated authority, then the first person needs to be informed of that is the assignment judge. Because they put that individual on their assignment. You understand this a little bit better now? This is role of government I'm talking about. And also role of the citizen. So this is Moorish American talk. They challenge that, and now you need to know a little bit more information on other laws and why are they the assignment judge, what is their responsibility? And just think of it, if they're the ones that have the authority to sign somebody into office, then they must have some important role in that particular county or in that government. You need to find out what their roles are. And I'm not going to tell you what they are. I'm only highlighting certain obligations and clues so that we can go back and do our homework. But we should already know that. That's my point. Going a step further. Office of Administration of Courts. Because that office oversees all the courts within that county. Whatever they do in that court can be overturned, can be reviewed, could be appealed, recommended by the Office of Administration of Courts. You got one on a county level, and you got one on a state level. So for us in Jersey, there's the Office of Administration of Court for every county, and there's one in Trenton that oversees every court within the state jurisdiction. They need to be privy to whatever violations would take place. Regardless of whatever decision they make, whether they want to hear it or not, it's still their business. Now, what you're doing is you're setting a paper trail up, because once you notify someone and it's within their jurisdiction to make a change, and they do not make a change, now they become a party to the big suit. Now it becomes collusion, because now you just acquiesce and you agree to be a party of the violations that took place. So now they're party to the suit. And now you can mention them in the suit, and now you can show cause of action in the suit on what part that individual played. Because you can't just mention people that's corrupt. or just say the county is corrupt, they violated my rights, and the state of New Jersey violated my rights, and this Department of Government and all these people violated my rights. Well, I'm explicitly going point by point of what that individual or individual plural did. What day did they do this? How did they do this? What did they do? Did they verbally make a statement? Did they put it in writing? What did they do that violated your rights, and what rights did they violate? And what proof do you have that that is a violation of rights? That's where your case law comes in at, that you list a case that supports what violation that you're accusing that individual of. Remember, this got to be done right. So you said the reason why we tell people to take your affidavit, go to the county, file it. The reason we know that some people are not going to get it filed, but you tell them you don't leave there without something in writing as to why not. They're not going to do business with you. Now, that paper that they give you signed by someone, now that person becomes liable. They become a party to it, and they got to show cause on why they didn't do or perform a constitutional obligation. That's why you got to have things in writing. Not just the county, but wherever you go. Social Security, Division of Motor Vehicles, someone don't want to give you anything that they're supposed to give you. Somebody violates you, it could be job related, like you brought up earlier. It could be on your job, it could be anywhere. If they're not doing correct business, you have to get a paper trail. And that becomes an exhibit in your suit. Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2. So when you make reference to a violation in a cause of action, then you list in there what exhibit is your proof in reference to that particular violation. So I'm just trying to bring clarity on how the form suit is. If it's police, if it's agency, wherever it is, or whatever it is, this is the procedure of filing suit. Yes, sir.
Will Grant saying off the term APR, alternative dispute methods, which consists of mediation, arbitrations, or the Department of Civil Rights, proceedings, and so forth, so they can hear the matter and come to a resolution prior to it moving back to the court.
Yes. And also term administrative remedy. So what we're speaking about is an administrative remedy. People are familiar with that term. The Moors Divine National Movement is an administrative remedy. Absolutely. So you have to exhaust your administrative remedy. The Constitution was given to us as an administrative remedy. That's why he's telling us to enforce the Constitution. Why? Because that's your administrative remedy. It's simple. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm going to see that. First question. Maybe. What remedy would be used? I know how for you.
It's not. So one thing that I want to clear up because no.
Previous question outside.
Yes. Yes, it's not. It's not. That's why I'm hitting key points here. This right here, the Dred Scott case, the whole case. You can see this, the whole case, the minutes and everything. Right? All Moors should already have this and know about it and have dissected it. So I shouldn't even have to tell you what the case is about. And I'm not. But I'm going to just highlight what it says under the title. It says Dred Scott, plaintiff in error. Right, so I needed to say that because this leads me into what the status of the Moors have traditionally been. Plaintiffs, plural, in error. This is why Drew said, help me get my people back into the Constitutional fold again. Because if you're not in the Constitutional fold, then plaintiff is in error. Although that they play the game was, even though we're claiming to be Moors now and we're claiming to be in our rightful state, they're still going to assume the fact that we are 14th Amendment citizens. So when we file these suits, they're still going to try to put us into a pro se status. They're still going to try to hold us to 14th Amendment terminology. This is important. I have Black's Law here, and I want to read to you civil action. It's important. I'm going to read civil because the word civil has been interchangeably used in Barakatah. So me, I'm always coming from a common law perspective, and that's what law should be. So the term is civil. By itself, just civil. It says originally, that's a highlight right there. If a definition starts off by saying originally, that means that it's been changed. That's right. So it's telling you originally pertaining or appropriate to a member of a civitas, that's Latin, and I know I probably pronounced it wrong, Emmanuel, you can pronounce it according to that lingo and stuff. And you know, what's the, that's real Latin. Yeah, but that's not. That's what they call a legal maxim, which is written in original Latin. Earlier translated in Latin. What? No, C-I-V-I-T-A-S. Yes. Yes, that would be Morris Latin. Yes, it is Morris Latin. But what I'm trying to show you is terminology. Like, you can use that term too. You know, like, we just kept it the way it is and put civil action. But we can very well have said civitas action. Because now they can't take that and say civitas is a 14th Amendment civil rights action because 14th Amendment didn't exist during that time era. That's why language is important. Very important. You have to stay within a common law venue, is what I've always thought. So you can put both down there. You can put civitas and then in parentheses put civil. That way there's no confusion. Because as long as you just throw something out there, it's going to assume to whatever their likeness is first until you challenge. So civil, civitas, or free political community. That's the definition of civil. Civil means a free political community. Then in quotation it says, natural or proper to a citizen. This is everybody, this is Black Law Dictionary, third edition, right? Also relating to the community or the policy and government of the citizens and subjects of a state. Common law, right? The word subject of the state. Because the citizen itself is the subject, you just got to understand subject of what. So, that's the original common law definition of civil. So even to the term civil rights, you can come from the common law perspective of it, which you have to, and have constitutional remedies. The Constitution is a civil document. Common law when they created the 14th Amendment, then the civil concept of civil rights was relinquished from a common law perspective and replaced with the civil rights of 1868, now construed as being an administrative remedy or administrative concept under the 14th Amendment only. And that's what Martin Luther King and all of them was popular for the civil rights movement. Was even though his movement was based on justice and liberty and peace and equality, which we understand that was King's intent, but his message was construed under the 14th Amendment. So recap. Did y'all hear the definition of civil?
Yeah, we got the definition of civil right after that.
What it was when you were responding to the fact that if you were going to try and
All right. So what we said was the civil rights movement constituted the Civil Rights Act, which they abandoned the common law administrative remedy of civil rights under the Constitution and replaced it with the Civil Rights Act, which was an act made in lieu of the 14th Amendment. And the 14th Amendment paved the way for the new administrative remedy of the Civil Rights Act. So any citizen that sought relief or any type of remedy of any issue at law dealing with their rights, etc., was construed under the Civil Rights Act, which was under the 14th Amendment claim, which only pertained to artificial people, not natural persons, not citizens at all, only corporate lordship. So the civil rights as they assume today is only an administrative remedy for corporate lordship. That's why when you're making a civil rights complaint or going to any civil courtroom, you got to make it clear that you're a natural person and your administrative remedy comes only under the common law venue, not under the Civil Rights Act of 1868. That has to be made clear most of the time in what we call a motion of status conference hearing, if you're dealing with a federal offense, like if you're in a federal court. Even if someone is bringing suit against you in a lower court, you still could do a motion of status conference hearing. That way it makes it clear as part of your rebuttal or your counterclaim or your affidavit to dismiss. The motion of status conference hearings will say, well, look, before you can go any further, I'm entitled to a status conference hearing. And within that status conference hearing, the jurisdiction and status is the first issue at law anyway. So before the court can move, we let you know I'm entitled to a status conference hearing to determine who are the parties, who are my accusers, and so that you can be crystal clear on my position as law. And you have a right to express that with any suit, regardless if the claim wasn't the event. So that should be protocol moving forward for everybody's suit. No matter if it's a traffic violation or any major issue in the street, you're not waiting your post status conference or affidavit of status conference. Don't wait it because it should be a part of the case. And for reference to how to fill one out, you can go into the due process of law, volume 2 book, due process of law, volume 2, and it has a motion of status conference hearing in our suit that is back in 2005. And you should, even if you don't have an active suit, you should study that because it makes you conscious of how to do it and how your defense would be when you are doing issues at law. Because it might not be a court argument in the courts of law, but the university court. You could be arguing with someone at your job, you could be dealing with Social Security, you could be having a street argument with someone about who you are. You still can use emotional status comprehension verbally. Then you need to know what to say, how you do it, what you are. So you should go back and study. What do you say?
I think it's just not saying anything.
Well, peace, Mark.
It's not.
Is the phone on speaker? Or was it on speaker before? Because you're sounding a little lower than you were earlier. All right. You might just have to talk up a little bit. It's a little bit low when you call back.
So, hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Who's up speaking now?
All right, please.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you more.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good job.
Yeah.
Is your phone on mute?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was on mute. My bad.
All right, serious. All right, so I'm dealing with a couple of questions. The first four, I believe, I addressed.
All right.
A couple things. I want you to move forward because I'm not speaking. I think I'm going to address most of it.
All right, no problem, Mark.
No problem. And of course, we won't be able to get to everything today, but it's key things that I think we have to address right now, so there's no mistakes. Yeah. Also, with that all talking about the status, party can also move for talking shit as well. They talk in argument and that court has to continue to rule up the substantial right to Supreme Court. Well, absolutely. That's why we're pushing for the motion of status conference hearing, is because that is part of the rebuttal from us. So if we do a status conference hearing, and because somebody is alleging that we are the defendant, somebody is accusing us of something, by us doing a motion of status conference hearing, meaning that that's part of our remedy to dismiss the claim that they're making, where we're doing a 12B6. We're saying failure to state a claim in which will need to be granted because the court lacks personam jurisdiction over me. So that's where personam jurisdiction comes in at, through the status conference hearing. Because the court can't rule if the court doesn't establish jurisdiction. So you need a form to determine jurisdiction, because if you notice, when you get the sheets, like here they use green sheets, in this court they use green sheets, so when they give you a citation to come to court, or summons to come to court, and if you read it, it says your name, and then it says within the jurisdiction of this court, I summons you to come here, this, that, and the third. So what you need to know is, within the jurisdiction of the court means that they're assuming that you are within the jurisdiction. And based off that assumption, you are required now to appear. So if you just appear without challenging the appearance, making a special appearance, you're agreeing that you are in the jurisdiction of that court. And now they will proceed with you because they already established
the jurisdiction because you didn't challenge. Yes, sir.
With regard to the status conference hearing, what should be the response of them when you issue that status conference hearing or make a request for that?
Well, they should, you know how they have different court dates labeled as far as the first time you come to court is called an arraignment. Right, and then they're only interested in an arraignment on how do you plead. You know, it's not scheduled for trial. They're not supposed to hear the case that day, anything else. It's only for both parties to come in. They establish the jurisdiction. They don't tell you that, but that's what it's really for, an arraignment. You look it up. They're trying to establish the jurisdiction and find out how you plead. And the purpose of the status conference hearing is because you're going to tell the court that the court can't move forward until status conference hearing is addressed because there are no pleas before the court. I can't plead because I don't know the nature and the causes of the accusation, specifically whether or not this court even has the jurisdiction over my persona. So until a hearing is granted, I don't plead. There is no plea before the court. That's what the status conference hearing is for. So now what they should do, and what they have done in most cases, is they will schedule a specific hearing just to determine whether or not the court has jurisdiction to hear the case. Now, municipal court is not a popular demonstration in municipal court. It's more popular in state court and federal court. But in a municipal court, they're going to try to act like they don't understand what you're talking about, and you just have to show them the laws and why they have to honor that. And usually when you show them that they are obliged to honor that, then usually they will set up some type of ad hoc meeting to determine that. Or either try to address it on paper and try to disqualify you. But what I'm saying is whether or not that they honor it or not, it shows that you're conscious of your remedy, and it shows that it's a rebuttal to their jurisdiction all in one. It shows them that you're conscious of what they're supposed to be doing. So remember, I can't really tell you the response of every little thing because it's going to be different all the time. Right. I can only address the procedure on what we should take regardless of what the consequence is.
So in regards to Rennie, then Rennie could request a status conference hearing based on the fact that he has two different names that appear on this.
Okay, so another question. So more goes to court, and they adjudicate, right? Against the corporate name, but in the disclosure that the judge signs off on, the name is not the straw man name. It's a totally different name.
It's not totally different. One of the names is, the middle name is different.
No, it's the last name.
Like surname. The first name and the middle name.
It's the surname that's different.
But the last name is totally different than what the person who was in court's straw man name is. And they're requesting that the individual goes to the probation meeting or whatever. Does the status conference hearing apply in every situation with regard to challenging jurisdiction like that?
Yeah, the status conference hearing is a challenge of jurisdiction. That's the purpose we're doing it. So it should be applied to all matters of law. Is what my statement is, and my suggestion should be, don't waive it. If you're doing an affidavit, what they call, like Charles does affidavit of fact, with anybody's remedy, some people do a judicial notice, some people put a notice to avoid traffic ticket, whatever your affidavit is to object or to challenge the citation. What I'm saying is include that within the body of your remedy. It doesn't matter what the title of your affidavit is. It should be a part of, I would suggest doing that first. Because you don't want to argue the subject matter of a case until you determine whether or not they even have the authority to judge the case. So I look at it, once again, as putting the cart before the camel again, because you don't want to argue controversy. You want to argue jurisdiction. And the only way to do that is by arguing status, which means that if you specifically outline, I'm just using the term because I deal with federal courts most of the time, motion to status conference hearing, it forces them to address only what you're talking about, which is status of the parties before the court and the jurisdiction before the court. Sometimes if you do an affidavit of fact or any of these fancy affidavits, they're addressing so many things within the affidavit, it becomes a distraction, and the court might not deal with one particular thing because you address several different things all at once. What I'm saying is, I will hold them right there at the motion to status conference hearing because it's the first procedure in federal court. And I treat municipal court just like federal court, even though they don't deal with the same rules. But my demonstration is you're supposed to deal with them rules, and you're not supposed to deal with municipal rules. So if I'm telling to go to municipal court, my attitude is I'm in federal court. I'll let them challenge the fact that I'm not in federal court. When they start talking like you're a municipal court, not federal, then my question becomes, oh, well, since when the municipal court gets the delegation of authority to, hold venue over the people, over the natural people. I'm a natural person. I'm not artificial. There's no remedy for me in their municipal court. So if this is not the proper venue for my argument, then you must remove the case to a federal jurisdiction, which is the argument I'm bringing, i.e. federal question, or you must dismiss the case for the lack of jurisdiction. For sound jurisdiction and subject matter jurisdiction. Because state or federal court can't deal with traffic violations. So the only jurisdiction that deals with traffic is municipal court. So if the municipal court can't give you a constitutional or common law administrative remedy, then they must dismiss it because they don't have jurisdiction to hear the case. Over the persona. They might have subject matter jurisdiction because they created the artifice of the traffic violation. So they might have subject matter jurisdiction, but one thing they definitely don't have is persona jurisdiction, unless you give it to them by way of being lordship and still transacting business in artificial names and principles. Then if they can challenge the persona jurisdiction and claim that you are in the jurisdiction, then it's ball game. They got the ball in their court, and that's why they continue to do what's being asked in the text that I got, meaning that the question that was asked is in lieu of them having leave, which I already understand that. And that's in most cases through my experience with Moors. And what I'm addressing is the remedy to that so we don't keep being in that position. The reason why we're in that status of the strawman name or the artifice, or the reason why they're referring to us as that, is because we have not properly proclaimed or declared our nationality. The reason why we haven't done it is because the remedy to do so is being ignored. Meaning that you should just be able to go down to the county on Monday morning and file your affidavits, your proclamation, and your declarations, your affidavits of fact, or whatever you use. They're not doing it. Which now that means you don't have a public record of your declaration, which means that it doesn't serve as a common law name change. I'm giving you quick facts here in a nutshell. So no matter who you buying affidavits from, because people are selling them all over the place, no matter where you get affidavits from, if you got it for free or if you paid for it, the fact is the same. Once you go down to the county to make a public record, that's where you get an opposition at. That's the reason why an individual is going to court and they're still saying your name is Jim Jones. That's the name I'm dealing with you as. Regardless of what affidavit you gave me, I'm not acknowledging that.
if once you're on our level where you pass that, we don't have those issues in court. Because every paper trail to who we are reflects our national stamp, our national name, our True Moorish appellation. So that won't be the argument once you get to that level. That's only an argument if you have not proclaimed. And listen to me, because I can't deal with personal matters. I'm showing you how to address those personal matters. You have to take suit against the county, because the counties are the ones that's blocking you from making your name public record. The only way around that is, if my proof to you is, if you went to court and did a name change and had the judge sign off on it, now he makes that public declaration, he makes the county put it on record that you've done a name change. He makes them put it in the newspaper for 4 weeks. And then the citizens or his agencies, all his corporate agencies, have to respect the fact that you changed the name. Once that name is changed and acknowledged to the corporate artifice, now when you go to court, they don't hold you to that name no more. They hold you to whatever name that the judge says he acknowledged. But the difference is, if he does it, he's going to put your status under the 14th Amendment and make you liable for the national debt again. That's why you don't want to go that route. The only other way around it is making a public declaration according to common law, which is in the county recorder's office. Until you did that, you have not proclaimed your nationality. Regardless of who acknowledged what, I'm saying properly, according to common law. You might can satisfy and trick certain people out there, but according to common law and the Constitution, you have not publicly declared who you are. And it might not be all your fault, but the problem is the county recorder. So you notice how I start off addressing them? That's what we're dealing with. Everybody needs to get up to speed on the issue that I'm talking about as far as taking suit against the county. All of those other questions fall under the suit. Go into Mr. Lawson here. Bookmark. Good bookmark. I'm online here, Houston, and here if you can read this in a sec. Docket number. Why is the docket number not on? So where's the actual docket number? All suits, no matter what we're doing, should have the docket number on. All right, smart. Docket number 2:15-CV-08136 is this common law civil action that we currently have in the federal court. Here you see the stamp from the clerk of the federal court showing that this is filed. When it gets filed, it gets issued a docket number from that particular clerk. And what I'm saying to us more moving forward is, if we don't have docket numbers from each temple or from our nation as a whole, we're not upset with what's going on. We have not addressed our administrative remedies. So I'm not thriving off of what we haven't done. I'm saying moving forward, this is where we need to be. Because this tells the public and it tells our representatives that enough is enough. And we're now conscious on what our remedy is. We can't keep saying we're going to the county and they turn us away. We can't keep settling for not having a proper name correction. If it's not being done, then we have to file suit against it. That's what enforcement constitution means from that perspective. That's Act 6. That's the remedy for Act 6.
which is not common language or process that you hear in our Moorish community. It's because of the overthrow. Generations and now, regardless of what Moorish group out there, we all should be doing, each conscious or active Moorish group should have docket numbers addressing the same issue. Or it should be consistently acknowledged in their area. It's either there's acknowledged and it's not a problem for you, or if it is a problem, you should have a docket number saying it's a problem. Without a docket number, you're saying it's not a problem. Am I clear on what I'm saying?
Islam.
Yes, Islam. What the Grand Sheikh is saying is that, even with that, the county clerk is so important because when you file your actual complaint, your cognizant, the clerk, yes, take your time. The clerk of the county is a constitutional officer. Everybody know that? Yes, yes. The clerk is sworn into her office. They're elected also by who? By the people. Supposedly the natural people. But we know they're being elected by the artificial people, right? On paper. Regardless of what corporation they're claiming, you have to hold them to the constitutional obligation because they took an oath to it. Regardless of what corporate game they want to play or who they tell you that they hold their allegiance to. Their oath said they took allegiance to the state constitution first and the national constitution. That's what their claim is. So that's what you hold them to start. That clerk of the county is also known as the secretary of the state. What state? The state of the county. Because the county is also a state. So that's the same duties your secretary of state has on a higher level. You have to look at your clerk of the county from the same light on a local level. So that means that the clerk should be one of your best friends. That means that each Grand Sheikh, assistant Grand Sheikh, Wazir, Amir, or whatever titles we might have, should be in direct communication with the clerk of court of our county. They should know you by first name. No. They should know you by first name. And when there's issues arising, according to the community, from a Moorish perspective, then you should directly go and request a private chamber meeting with the clerk of the county because the clerk has its own chamber. If you can, and that's what back to the first administrative remedy part, trying to settle this through an arbitration, a mediation, private meeting first. Let's settle it. You got an issue, okay? Let's try to sit down and talk one-on-one about this issue, see if we can resolve it that way. They don't want to do it that way. You put it in writing, and that's what we call an intent to sue. You just don't come right down and sue them. You do an intent to sue first. That's where you go back into the same due process of law for Volume 2. We have only a failure to record documents on demand. That failure to record document on demand gets sealed by your temple. You can notarize it if you want to. You certify and mail it to the clerk of the court. Because that serves as an intent to sue now, to say, okay, well, this is a follow-up to the conversation we had. You're still failing to do a particular duty. So now what we're going to do is we follow up in writing and create this paper trail. Now you have an intent to sue on your debt. You got 30 days to respond to this or comply with the order, or we're going to do an amendment 9 complaint law and take this to the federal court. If you acquiesce to complying within the 30 days, this serves as an acquiescence to the federal venue that we're going to go, meaning that we can go to federal court with this now because you agreed to.
How did I get your agreement? Through you acquiescing. So now that serves the basis for to satisfy the status of the jurisdiction of the federal court through their acquiescence of your failure to record document on the land. That's how you set them up. You have to show the court, because you could bring somebody to federal court, but you still got to satisfy the jurisdiction to them. You got to prove to the federal court that whoever you bring in the court falls within the federal guidelines of the jurisdiction to summon them to come to court. So they're going to say to you, well, this individual or individual's plural is within the same county that I live in. Why are they going to the federal jurisdiction when we can settle this within the state? In fact, according to our administrative process, it says that they're supposed to take us to state court first. How are they going to take us straight to federal court? That's when you got to show that they have 30 days to respond to this administrative process here that they failed to do. And it stipulates right in here, line such and such, paragraph such and such, that failure to respond within 30 days of this, whatever it is, means that you agree to the federal jurisdiction venue in which we choose. So the federal court got to say, oh, well, you agree, because you're in default of the first administrative remedy. Now, once you get them into the federal venue, and now they got X amount of days again to comply or to answer to the docket number that they got here. Failure to answer that docket number within a certain amount of days means that they will be in default in the federal court. Now, you send in a writ of mandamus to the federal court for them to comply or show cause within a certain amount of time, and it stipulates in that suit as well. Failure to do so means you go into default. And once you go into default, I'm moving for an injunction or a summary judgment. I'm ordering the court to automatically grant me the relief that I'm demanding because they are in default, which means that there's no more case after this. They automatically got to do what they're supposed to do. So this court has a writ of mandamus, means that I'm ordering this court to make them do what they're supposed to do. There's no more show cause at that point. They waive their opportunity to show cause by them going into default. Once they go into default, there is no more order to show cause. There is no more response. It's automatically an injunction, means you order the court at that point, or you move the court to give you what you demand within that. That means that from that day forward, the court is supposed to put a memorandum out to all to all county clerk's offices within that state to file mortgage documents on demand. It's a court order to do that now. Now, if they don't do it after that point, your hands is out of it. The court can now summon them to court and charge them, not you anymore, because you out of it. They violated what they call the court order to do so. Because we can tell them to do something right now. That's not considered a court order. That's why we're taking them to the federal court to get the court order for them to file the documents on behalf of us. Once they don't do it when the court told them to do so, the court now can just violate them or summons them based on failure to perform that particular duty that was outlined in the due process of law. So, we're good?
We're good, Mark.
So, that's the only way to address this issue. There's going to be multiple scenarios and questions that fall under that. And where I'm at with it is, don't concern yourself with all of the other issues. Address this issue as far as taking suit against the county for failure to perform. That's the first remedy that we more should be taking moving forward. Because anything else is not going to be able to address. You can win certain battles. You can't go to court, you're going to have extra knowledge now. To box your way out of jurisdictions and issues, then you still can beat them up in a straw man's name. But it takes talent, it takes knowledge, and that's an individual thing at that point where you can't give you crash course on that. You just have to be knowledgeable when you go in there in order to do that. You can win, but in order to minimize that, having the box like that, and having other people that you give nationality cards to be successful, we got to address the counties first. And that's where we're at with it, and that's what everyone else needs to be. Forget that apostille from the state. Apostille is not the remedy for declaring your nationality. A lot of Moors will have you thinking that just because they don't have the knowledge or the guts to take suit over it, just keeping it real. So they go settle for apostille, which is not a declaration at all. It's just a state notary that certain documents exist, and that you didn't file it, but you notarized it on the state level. But it doesn't mean that it becomes public record. You don't have a book number, you don't have a page number. So other citizens can't come and see that you made a public declaration. According to common law, an apostille is not a remedy for a public record. You can deal with the law and back up everything I'm saying. Don't mean don't go get an apostille. Like I said, you can use it and trick people and just get by with it. But sooner or later, you're going to run into a roadblock when you run into somebody with no law. An apostille is not even for use domestic within this nation. Apostille is really for use abroad, outside of the nation. So that's another level, but I'm just showing you that you can't entertain a lot of speeches out here on this map. I'll stand corrected if somebody can bring me a superior argument system. But this is where the energy and the vibration of active Moors should be moving forward until this is addressed. Once this is addressed, now we can move on to phase 2 and bring suits over other issues at law, as far as race classification and other things like that. But the first thing that Act 6 tells you, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality. Technically, we're supposed to do that before we can even start teaching our people about their nationality and their divine creed. If you haven't proclaimed, then really it's not rightful for you to be out there teaching, according to law. So what I'm saying is, let's humble ourselves and put our limited energy, because we got to go to work, we got to do things in life. We got children, so we don't have too much time. So whatever little bit of time that we do have, it needs to be directed into a certain direction. That's how they got distracted. Yes, sir. And George was talking about scheduled conferences. The first scheduled conference that starts is with the county clerk, because the standard conference is done there. The reason why we are called for standard conference in the federal court is basically because of one thing, the 46 motion. Because in the actual complaint, it should be a status on the record for the record we filed a complaint, which are grounds for dismissal. Jurisdiction. Yes. Whenever you file suits, 3 things you got to satisfy. The first thing you have to satisfy is that the court has jurisdiction to even hear the case. And that comes into status of the individuals before the court. That determines if the court has jurisdiction to hear the case. It's based on the status of the individual. This is where diversity of citizenship comes in, that diversity of jurisdiction, these types of things. But like he's saying, when you file suit, you have to satisfy jurisdiction first, which the verbiage in the argument or the status should be really the same as the motion of status constitutional. The only thing I'm saying is, if you just do it in a suit alone, just like they did with this suit, they're going to override or ignore the status and still put it under 14th Amendment. So to minimize them doing that, you should outline a separate motion of status conference hearing to emphasize the status separate from what you satisfied in the suit already. Because usually you start off the suit by saying Article 3, Section 2 is vague. It's general. We're talking about the court got jurisdiction because it deals with controversies over $20, and Article 3, Section 2, you know, and that court has general and original jurisdiction of all cases, civil, criminal, you know what to say. I'm not going to repeat it all. But what I'm saying is that's general. They know that. They look at that as a copy and paste demonstration. So yeah, you mimicking what somebody else said or what the Constitution said, which is fine. But now they want to see an interpretation. That's where the motion status conference hearing come at, because in there is your will on paper. And now they're seeing your conscious level, your mental state expressed in that status conference hearing. Now he's telling them who you are personally, and you understand the procedure of the court, separate from why the court has jurisdiction. So what you're doing is you're just forcing them to address the issue at hand a little bit more. You're highlighting separate from the suit. Yes.
Also, in regards to that, like you said, when they hear that, they think there's a cut and paste now. So remember, the laws that we're covering today is preceded by laws that govern it, which is like Article 3, Section 2. But this is the reason why when we know when a judge makes decisions, we must know how a judge is supposed to make a decision. So the decision is based off the judge is based off two things: non-dispositive and dispositive. Dispositive means these are issues that were adjusted, and non-dispositive will take account of the effects. Well, 12-6 motions are non-dispositive motions because they deal with the effects and the feelings. That's what this would be why you call them the status conference. But you're going to do something actual things. And judges know that because dispositive motions were based off of judgment, it's done based off of feelings as well. So if you plead to a complaint, well, then the automatic dismissal based off the judge's opinion that was implemented in the initial complaint. So, well, remember, we have to argue on paper. You know, like one of the statements Abraham Lincoln made. You know, he said, you know, I now put down the axe and I fight with words. You know, because he fought the same fight we fight, the same freedom movement. His fight was to abolish slavery. And he understood a nation can't be free, or an individual can't be free as long as slavery exists. So we're really talking the same thing here. And the statement that he made, or the strategy he made, that you got to fight with words. And our words have to be expressed on paper. And this is what I'm saying, that whatever your argument is, whatever your mental state, whatever your declaration of freedom, has to be on paper. So yes, we do affidavits to declare our freedom, but that's further as we go with it. And we can't stop there. That's just the initial, the first step that we take towards the road of freedom. Is our personal affidavits. But once those affidavits are not acknowledged, then you have to take suits over your affidavit. There's no sense of having an affidavit if you're not going to file suit against it, if need be. So just understand that concept. Nationality card is still a declaration. It's still a affidavit of fact. It's just a brief. It's in a small card, an ID card. But it still expresses the same thing in a little bit of work. So if your nationality declaration and your nationality card is ignored or deprived, then you got to take suit over your nationality card. And this is what the prophet was meaning when he says that you're not going to do nothing with it, you might as well turn your card and play. See, it's where interpretation says to return back to the state where I found you. And that's my interpretation of it. If you're not going to take action over what I gave you, then you might as well give it back. Same thing with the nationality card. If you're not going to take action with this nationality card, what's the sense of even having it? And that's the attitude that we got to have moving forward. We can't just deal with folly and laugh our way through this like we good. We're not good. All is not well. Let's keep it real. And that's where this movement should be right now. The all is not well. Let's make it well. You know, and just one thing I want to. You had a question? Tom.
I want to define civil action. A personal action which is instituted to compel payment for doing some other thing which is purely civil. In common law, it means one which seeks the establishment, recovery, or redress of private and civil rights, distinguished from criminal action. One brought to recover some civil right or to obtain redress for some wrongdoing, not being a crime or misdemeanor. Now it goes on further, I'm just giving you a brief. So the purpose of a civil action is to redress a wrongdoing, to redress your grievance or grievances. So when the questions and the issues that us Moors are having is a redress issue. It's a recovery of a right. We were brought back into the constitutional fold again to be able to recover or redress our grievances, to recover a right that has been stolen from us or deprived us of. You understand the concept? So that means civil action, civil remedy. That's the purpose of this movement. It's a redress of grievance. So one shouldn't come into this movement with the laid-back idea of they shouldn't have to do anything. You know how people come into this and think you owe them everything? Or like they just want what everything has to offer, but they don't feel they got an obligation to it? That's not what the purpose of it is. We can't give you nothing, as a matter of fact. We can't give you nothing. We can assist you with the recovery of a right. But we can't give you anything. It's not transferable. That's what inalienable means. This is something inherited in you. The only thing you can do is come together and get with us because we have acknowledged that already, and we're working on the recovery of that, which pertains to you. But if you're not down for that cause, then don't even come here. That's my attitude. Because now you become an enemy to the cause, you become a leech. And that's not what this, prophet says. We need help, we need assistance, we need your support. When he says, I got other Europeans and other nations helping you, why not you? The Negro problem is your problem. So we got to address what is the Negro problem. The Negro problem defined is the redress and the recovery of our rights, our inalienable rights, and our substantive rights. That's the heart of this movement defined to me. And it should be, that vibration should be addressed throughout the nation moving forward. Too many people are complacent in their own comfort zone of what they look at this movement to do or be. And that needs to be changed. It needs to be exposed. I know it's being exposed. It has been exposed to, different active groups, but that really needs to be put on the front burner. So when other Moors communicate with me, I'm questioning the docket number. That's just where I'm at with it because I'm limiting my conversation. We're going to talk about how to file a docket or talk about what type of responses have you got so far on your docket. But to just not have a docket number, to me, is unacceptable moving forward. Past is the past, I'm saying moving forward. Remember, we took action back in 2005 over what I'm talking about right now. And so you got to understand my position that I'm kind of pissed off at the fact that we still talking about this, over 10 years later. So I'm not trying to go backwards what I instituted. Like this should automatically been standard by now. But it's not. So this is why we're 100 years later on what the prophet is to do. he instituted civil action. And it's still not, you can't even convince people that the prophet dealt with law. They'll tell you he didn't deal with law, even some religious figures not. But we allow that because we're not addressing it properly. To the point where, even in the suit back in 2005, the judge was trying to say that this is the prophet's position. Like, we got a false interpretation of the prophet. But of course they're going to argue that, because that's their only chance of obedience, is to discredit what the prophet did. And we got Negro Moors that keep allowing this to occur by not supporting these type of actions. They would side with the judge and say, oh yeah, prophet ain't bring that, prophet ain't demonstrate that, which allows the national representatives to acquiesce to these claims we make. That's the problem too. They side with the judge. To the fact that if you read the memorandum of law in 2005 that Judge Prater put out in my lawsuit, the judge said that the prophet didn't issue out nationality cards to his members. He issued out passports to them. And we got Negro Moors too busy siding with the judge, not on that fact, or that's not a fact at all. It's a false claim. But you got Moors that disagree with our position so much they won't challenge the judge. Supreme Court judge made that statement against the prophet. That disclaims everything that you're saying. You can't even say Act 6 if a memorandum goes out saying that the prophet ain't issue out nationality cards. They so busy trying to disclaim us that they won't even challenge the judge on the false claims that the judge made. That's COINTELPRO. That's why I got my attitude that I have against Moors that are passive, because they won't stand up for truth. They worry about me trying to expose them so much that they won't even challenge the judge when the judge makes these false claims. So whoever the national representatives claim they are, they should be standing up to what the judge said, not standing up to me. They should be online talking about me, trying to discredit me. They should be trying to discredit a Supreme Court judge that's making a national memorandum to all courts on how to deal with these Moors, because that pertains to them too. So if you agree with them, why are you still issuing out nationality cards? Why are you not issuing out passports? You understand what I'm saying? That was 10 years ago. But you don't even hear Moors talking about this because of the approach that they take, regardless of who they are. Who outside of me or people here you heard even addressing what I'm addressing right now? Who want to go back to that? Nobody. Because they don't have enough knowledge and guts to go before the Supreme Court and argue that in the first place. That's why they won't talk about it. They're so busy, they'll laugh and say, okay, well, you know, they didn't win the case. The judge said it was frivolous. Of course they're going to say it's frivolous. But they lied about your prophet too that you're not saying nothing about. You're so busy trying to expose the fact that we're frivolous, but you're not making any challenge towards the false claims that they made about us as a whole. Because they wasn't just talking about us here in Asbury Park. They was making a general statement to be used across the board, along with other fictitious statements that they made. So what I'm saying is, until we're able to address these things, we're going to continue to be subject to all the claims and excuses that the citizens carry the power from. They discredit you already all the way. They acknowledge him. They didn't deny a lot of stuff that we said in the school about you already.
Come before the passport. You can't issue a passport to someone who isn't tied to anything.
But they disqualified key points to make us as a people get a landmark case. They didn't use the Jurisdictional case. The Moors misinterpreted. So you can understand this, man. The fight is not with me. The fight is not with us. The fight is not with active Moors. If anything, you got to get behind active Moors and try to work together to see it through.
No, it's not. And once again, the result of that is because of case law. You're looking at a decision
based off case law, which becomes legal theory in regards to decisions that were passed by legal decisions of judges in regards to these particular claims. Judgment is not written based off case law, based off evidence, but the judge does not even consider the evidence based off the material fact of genuine issues, because the issue that we're bringing is not worth hearing because of our pleading. But we have to understand that case law itself doesn't validate judgment. It's the evidence that you bring that supports a judgment in favor of the Lord. So we have all the evidence that we need in regards to who we say we are, we're just lacking the presentation or presentment of it. This is either why knowledge of yourself and you create you, what else is need for man, you know? So I got the memorandum from 2005 here that Judge Patter put out. I'm going to just read to you some simple stuff that this is why we put this stuff in newspapers. It's just because we always need to read this and understand what they said about this movement. It says, the more members of plaintiff, says Great Seal 7, appear to be followers of Drew's teachings. Drew preached that all African Americans are of Moorish descent and thus are not citizens of the United States. And they put a case law here, United States versus James. Which is not true. Right? Drew instructed his followers that all Moorish Americans must carry a Moorish passport bearing one's real name, which was often created fictitiously by adding names that Drew claimed correspond to three ancient Moorish tribes, Ali, Bey, or El, to one given birth name. See United States versus Garden. But these are case laws that they're putting there in reference to claims we made. What Moors need to do is go back and read this case.
What's it called?
And understand what happened in that case. Why are they even using that case in reference to the Moors titles, El, Bey, and Ali? You see what I'm saying? You can't argue, you can't go before the court and argue these same issues or similar issues without first knowing what these cases were about or what was responded to already in the Supreme Court. So you'll know how to counter that.
No, please, Mark. Sorry,
No.
could you just repeat those two cases again?
United States versus James is one of them. The other one is United States versus Darden, D-A-R-D-E-N.
Thank you, Islam.
And when you go back to the due process law book and read the memorandum, it has the whole case number there, so you can easily find it. You can go to any, you can do it online, but you can go to any federal library and give the librarian the case, and they can give it to you, and they'll give you a whole case. But once again, you can go back and read this. So I just gave you a little snapshot of what the judge was saying back then about us, and how quickly you see that the claim that they make is so fictitious and they're really not hitting on anything. Like, that's their argument. That's all you got to say. I mean, there's more, but really, you're supposed to be the Supreme Court. That's the federal court. That's the best that you can come up with. That's the best lie you can come up with to disqualify what we're saying. Now, we got enough proofs to discredit that argument, but the problem is we need the support of more than that these arguments are. Because all they got to do is get COINTELPRO sheet to just agree that we're not who we say we are, and now that stands as law.
So now the nationality card becomes obsolete in their eyes because they claim you need a passport. Now the next thing is, as law is, only way you can get a passport according to them is to go to one of their jurisdictions.
Exactly.
It's based because now as soon as you issue somebody a passport, now they're going to file charges against you. You know what I mean? So it's layers of fraud and bait that I already understand with this. And once again, to even address this takes a certain support to correct this. That's why we put it out there, and we need a plebiscite to really address this properly. As long as I do it or any one or two individuals do it, it's going to be swept under the rug. Yes, sir.
Well, once again, that's going back to case law. Like you said, this is case law which they're reading. So the question is that when judges, when cases are written by a jury based off the reasonable jury standard, it should be based off the evidence. But when the judge makes a decision, it wasn't based off what the jury was finding, based off the analyzation of the evidence. It was based off a legal conclusion made off the judge. So this becomes unconstitutional because the judge does not have that power to make a decision. He's supposed to just decide what laws apply according to the treaty. So by the judge taking an action is a violation of the case law that has usurped the power of the people by a judge amongst the jury amongst their own peers. If you have different citizens, if you have a jury that's trying under the facto nations, then they got drug dealers, criminals, so on and so forth. So if they're trying a case, then based off their knowledge, it can be an influence on them. Yeah. Whereas to a jury, people in your society, this Article 7 denotes to a jury amongst their own peers. This is what they use in regards to complaint in lieu of counsel relief.
Yes, that's why you have to challenge to select the jury. Because of that.
But they're not even using the jury. He's already decided who the judge should be based off this end of the citation, what the jury might say, based off that case law.
So you got to challenge that too. That's why you don't remember. Everybody is entitled to their day in court. Everybody is entitled to a jury. So you don't want to waive these things because of that. Because it's at your disadvantage when you do so. So, coming to a conclusion, like I said, there's a lot of things to address. Chief, did you have any others?
I think we're all right, Mark.
All right, smart. Recap or move forward. There's a lot of groundwork that we can talk about, but we can start copying like the suits and things we're doing. See you out there, and within y'all meetings, I can go over the floor and formulate a suit out there and reference to this, because it's nucleus that will address everything else you're dealing with, because it's the same issues there as here. You know, so that's just how I see it. You know. Meanwhile, for the individual battles, it's a case-by-case basis, you know, which is no one answer to the issues. You just got to be individually boxed. You know, that's sad to say that we have to get that level. That's what we have to straighten out collectively. Is there any questions here? Questions here? Manuel, anything? Thank you.
People, I will look at for the prep, not the guys. law. So, dealing with the word proclaim to declare official. In the memorandum that I just read, it mentioned how Moors or Fine L obeyed to their name and they said it was fictitious. That's something else that has to be addressed. Because sometimes what they're telling you when you make these claims that you did an illegal name change, or they're not honoring that name because it wasn't done according to law. So the only way to really define proclaiming of a nationality, because proclaiming a nationality only means to proclaim one nation or free national name, which is the nationality, which is Moorish American. That's not name change. That's not name correction. Something different. But when you proclaim the nationality as Moorish American, everything that comes along with the common usage of that nation now becomes the traditional use, which correcting one's name, going back to a family name now, that's what you're doing. Nowadays, become a family name. According to the common law, that's a right that's inherited within that. So now you have to argue that way, because they're kind of trying to say only way you can have LSA on your name or correct your whole name is if you go to the court. And that's not true. So you got to be able to challenge that and put that, and that's another cause of action to take suit against. Separate from the county not following your doctrine, that's one violation or course of action. Another is the people who doesn't honor a name correction or common law name change. So what I have right here is a document. It says why some people change their name. It's not from law. General information that came from common law name change. So I'm going to read, I'm going to highlight one. It says, return to an old family name. It says, alternatively, persons may seek a change of name because they wish to return to a previous changed old family or ancestral name. The old name must probably denote for them much emotionally or psychological meaning rooted in the family system. That applies to us, so that you'll understand it. Because even if you go to court and ask them to change their name, within the application it still lists the reason for name change. So they still want you to put the reason why you wish to change the name. So you got to understand, regardless if you're going through a court or from a common law usage or declaration perspective, the reason why you're correcting your name must be based on truth and fact. So that's where you come from, this perspective. It says, say one's parent or grandparents may have previously changed the family name to an American name upon first coming to the United States. But for one reason or another, the desire to return to the historical roots to maintain a sense of continuity. You understand what I'm saying? You yourself may happen to take a liking to or preference for the original ancestral name, choosing to return to it instead. Now, if you go back and read our proclamation for name correction, free national name and religion, it speaks the same language. This is why returning back to our name, and which returning those things back to its colonial possessors. Because we're saying that the name that was put upon us wasn't of our own ancestors. That was put on us in the time of colonization, i.e. slavery. So us Moorish Americans are returning back to our true ancestral or pedigree name, i.e. our Moorish heritage name, the name of our forefathers. So that's not just that's not quote unquote religious. That's lawful. That's acknowledged by common law itself. So don't let them push that into a religious category, is what I'm saying. The name, by you returning back to Ellen Bay, is not a religious, just as a religion. And we know religion means law, order, government. When they use the term religion, they're dissecting the lawful process out of that. And you don't want to allow them to just utilize that as a religious use. You got to hold them to common law. You got to think common law at all times. At all times. It says, for sociological and historical reasons. That's another category. Many people, predominantly of Black American extraction, it says, often change their birth names for reasons that they honestly consider them to be or to symbolize a slave name. That is one derived from or taking after the name of white and having no connection with their true African ancestry, heritage, or origin. Many famous Blacks offhandedly come to mind who have changed their names, such as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they're using him as a reference, from Lou Alcindor, Malcolm X from Malcolm Little, and Muhammad Ali from Cassius Clay, to just name a few. So they're giving you an example of quote-unquote people they refer to as Black men who have changed their names for historical reasons, for slave reasons. But these people have done it through the courts. So they're still labeled as 14th Amendment citizens. But they're telling you reasons why one must change, why people change their name in general. That's also that the citizens and the courts must acknowledge. It's another reason they're telling you this. So everyone has a right to change their name. This is law. So for whatever reason you want, as long as it's not for criminal intent, like you're trying to evade prosecution or something like that. But everyone is sincere. Everyone has a right to change their name. So regardless of why Moors want to do it, it's still your right to do it. You just got to use the right laws to do it, is what I'm saying. That shouldn't be no issue to you. Correcting your name shouldn't be an issue. It's just how bad do you want it, is what I'm saying. There's ways to get around it. You got to sincerely obligate these people to correct it. I'm saying it was, hey, look, man, if the slave can do it, why can't I? I would literally ask somebody that.
That's right.
If I'm arguing with somebody and they trying to hold me to the corporate article, I'll say to them, well, look, if a slave got a right to change his name or a privilege to change his name, then you shouldn't have no problem with me doing so. You saying I'm beneath a slave, then you're not even saying that I'm a slave. You're saying I'm beneath a slave if you won't honor my right to a name in that. You reduce me from a slave. You know, and you play off the emotions, you know what I'm saying. You gotta work this magic. You know, that's the only thing I'm saying. You gotta work it. There's no one way to do it. You just gotta find a mix. You know. You're the one who has not complied with it. You gotta make it a business to do stuff. You gotta get out there and do some legwork and you know, stand in front of these people. Like I use Muhammad Ali as an example all the time. You know, because of how he went about it. And he didn't take no jump from that. You know, he demanded you respect him. And I'm not saying you go this route, but he demanded the respect. Don't speak to me at all if you can't honor who I am. In that regard, regardless of that was job related or whatever else. And you know they was offering him millions of dollars. And he cared less about that. So it's the same situation. Like I tell you is, I'm not going to go to work for somebody under that artist. It don't matter if that's what they want to pay me under or not. My thing is, I'm not accepting no check under no other name, okay, or whatever. That's my demonstration. If you want me, if you acknowledge the fact that, I'm a valuable employee, then you're going to honor who I am. That's just my demonstration. So I just gave you a demonstration of something else I want to read. So it says the two basic methods by which names are changed. It's the same document. First method, change by common usage. Common usage is common law, for those who don't know. By a long-standing common law understanding held across the United States, it's practically every state in the nation, a resident who desires to change his or her name may do so without ever making an application to any court or needing its authorization. To put it simple, what it means is you may simply pick a name you want to answer or change it to, and then proceed to use that chosen name over and over again on a consistent and prolonged basis, and that chosen name will just be as legal, providing the purpose behind the change is no way illegal, criminal, or fraudulent, or is not occasioned by intent to avoid the legitimate obligation or to interfere with the rights of others. A name change or assumed name by the method is, for all intents and purposes, that the person's legal name rightfully assumed in all respects just as legitimate and valid as one changed by a court order. Indeed, in New York State, as most states in the United States, the courts have held that the law of the land is that the judicial or court method of changing one's name is merely an affirmance and aid of the common law. I'm going to repeat that. In New York State, courts have held that the law of the land is that the judicial or court method, meaning going to court to change your name, is merely an affirmance and an aid of common law method of accomplishing the same thing. In other words, that the court method is merely a formalized method of confirming or acknowledging a name which could just as simply have been assumed or changed by merely using that name on a repeated, prolonged basis, and that a change by court proceeding is no more or less legal than a change by common law usage. Period. The second method is change by court order, which I'm not going to read that because you already know what they're saying on that level. But back to what I just read, is back to proclaiming your nationality defined. In lieu of also what I said earlier, that there's different ways you can go apply it, but you want to make it public record. Common law means people. And when you make a declaration or proclaim something, that means that the people have to know about it. That's what that means. Inform the people. That's what that means. You talk about the common law use. The common law laws support the fact that you can do it that way. That is the first way it was done. That still remains lawful according to Article 6 of the United States Constitution. Of course, people are going to disagree with me, but that's when you got to follow suit or take suit in law over that. So if a court or an agency is going to come out and tell you that you can't do it that way, instead of keeping arguing with the people, You got to get a docket number and force the court to tell them that. That, or either just go for years and years without proclaiming the name. It's up to you. But it's got to be common law. Common law is the only authenticated, organic way of doing it. You notify the people first, your people, then your organization. Then you go put it on a public record, and then you just roll. You just repeatedly keep using it and using it, and don't ever use other names. After a while, you'll find a way. After a while, they're going to accept it. You do less business, like the prophet said, and we talk about this all the time. Leave old business as it was, even if we're going to use what you always said. I got something for that too. Let old business be the old business, and all new business should be under your national name. Even if you use that statement, what that's still saying is common law usage. At a minimum. Leave old business the way it was, and you do all new business under this new umbrella. He says a new era of time. So now everything you do from this moment of you proclaiming your nationality can be under this new awareness and consciousness that you are Moorish American, and that you're not Negro, Black, and color, and that you don't need a 14th Amendment application to declare your rights and preserve your rights. That's simple. So regardless of who's saying you what, just move. Just eliminate the name and don't answer to it. No matter who they are. They call you by a name, you don't answer. Don't do who I am. Can't respect that, don't call me at all. And just keep it moving. Our problem is we have what we call the fear of law. We're afraid to do that because of the consequences. We're going to lose a job. We're going to lose some type of privileges, some type of benefit. We'll lose the association with them. So the fear of law comes into play when we really start debating on whether we're really going to proclaim our nationality. And that's our real issue. And the people that they gave reference to here, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, those people are highlighted. Why? Because of the firm stance that they took. Let your name be here. They should be mentioning your name for the things you took. That's my point. You got to stand just as firm as them, even though that they was considered to be 14th Amendment citizens. You got to take a stronger stance to that more than what they did. They declare who they are and they roll like that, regardless of the consequences. And that's what I'm saying. Don't let it be motivated or anything else argue with it. You got to stand firm. You got to stand for truth. And that's where your success comes from. That's where your acknowledgement comes from, on high. Not from the mundane forces you're trying to get acknowledged. We too worried about the physical, mundane people accepting us, and we're not worrying about the etheric people or energy or spirit. The ones you're trying to return to, they're dishonoring you because you are not honoring them by name and principle. So you figure you're trying to get the physical people to acknowledge something, but you're dishonoring them, which is the cause of why you proclaimed it in the first place. So now the angelic forces and spirits can't help you with you proclaiming it on a physical level. In fact, they will prevent you from doing it. And that's on a spiritual level. If your heart is not right, it's not going to get done. And I'm not saying those who have not proclaimed it is because your heart is not right. I'm not saying that. So, we have to say it. Fair enough. Because the issues is what Lord, enough is enough. And that's the only way to address this nigga problem. 14th Amendment is a nigga problem. the application of it is involved. You gotta take students in it. That's the only remedy.
I'm not leaving, eh?
So far as how to complain, what that means, is just explain that. We have any questions on that, we can address that in the thing. But I think it's pretty much, yeah. For those who don't know. No.
We just wanted to give you your honors. Let's give it up for Brother Nature. We appreciate your work more and appreciate the staff that you got over there and the Moors that are staying true to the principles that was laid down.
Likewise, bro. We appreciate y'all as well.
We're gonna be definitely getting this done again. And I don't know if you have any closing remarks for us out here before you close out.
No, just like I said, just we need assistance, we need help here as well. We don't have all the answers. So like I said, the more work and assistance we can get on y'all part will help us with great work. So like I said, we'll start forwarding these issues there. So, you said you had a legal team that just put together. So I want to give honor to that as well. And hopefully within that legal team, this could set the standard of what needs to be addressed moving forward out there.
Islam.
And we can maybe have certain private Skype meetings, the legal team, to take things to another level in the future.
We were discussing that yesterday, so I'll definitely get their contacts to you or your contacts to them, so we can manifest that.
All right, on that, we're gonna close out on the spirit of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Islam.
Dialoguing with you on the next.
All right, more peace and love and Islam to everybody there.
Peace and love.
Islam.
What's up? Close the spirit of prophecy. Give observance to prayer once again. Rise, face, eat.
This is Rise, Face, Be Smart.
We gonna follow y'all lead in the prayer more.
Islam, more. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through His holy prophet. Noble Drew Ali. Amen. Islam. Ashe. Peace and love, Noble.
Islam. Peace and love.